Welcome to the L36 Podcast, where the global exploration of cultural insights and stories of people making a difference big and small becomes the shift in perspective that helps us grow. I'm your host, Stephen Pierce, founder of L36, with my co-host, Nina Winstead. And today, we're speaking with Ash Almonte, a vibrant contemporary artist whose work graces high-level galleries and private collections worldwide.
One of every 5 or 10 paintings, I might have a game time piece. But what you don't see is all the little doodles I made at the bank and threw in the trash that got me to where I could make that, like just making that craft.
Beyond her colorful canvases, Ash is a dedicated philanthropist and co-founder of a nonprofit organization, blending creativity and compassion into transformative acts of service. Ash joins us today to share her profound journey, from balancing art with the practical demands of life to uncovering how creativity became her spiritual guide for authentic expression.
Okay, so welcome, Ash Almonte. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Oh my goodness, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to speak to you. So, full-time artist, you are a philanthropist, co-founder of a nonprofit. You have worked with various celebrities, high-level galleries, and you're a mom of 2.
And a wife.
And a wife. So excited to talk to you about this. Before this life, can you take us back to maybe right when you're entering the workforce, when you were not an artist, when you were not a creative, and what was that life like?
Gosh, back then I would say I dabbled in banking and a personal banker and a teller. And I was going back to school to get an art degree. Like, I knew it was what I wanted to do, but I had to earn a living. Like, at that point, I didn't. And so I knew banking was the way I could earn my living. And then maybe I could like study art on the side and try. I think the hardest part was working a full-time job and then having the energy to create. Like, I could see that like doing both was really hard for me. Like, I was sacrificing my energy that I needed to create at the end of the day. But I was in banking, and I thought if I could work towards getting an art degree, maybe I could find some way to get into being able to make art more often. And the hope was always to go full-time.
I've been stuck there for about 10 years.
Oh.
That's a hard place to be.
And I'm not saying that jumping off the cliff is the right thing either.
I gotcha. No, I gotcha.
But one thing I think that I'm learning now, and I got asked this on a previous podcast, if you had any advice to give any artist or a young artist coming up, what would your advice be?
Yeah.
Make art. Make art. Make art when your dad dies. Make art when you get a divorce. Make art when you don't have room in your house to make art. You have to make the art. I'm sitting here today working full-time as an artist, traveling, working with galleries. But what got me here was making that art at 4 o'clock in the morning while my babies were sleeping. And it was only a couple of brushstrokes. Making that art while I was at the bank. Chipping away. And like, I can chip away at a 30-piece show right now because I chipped away just one little piece at a time 20 years ago. Because as creatives, it's who we are. Like, we do this. And that goes back to that commitment to the art. I'm committed because life is not going to roll out the carpet for you to make your art. It's not. It doesn't go, oh, here, everything's in line. Now you go make art.
Right.
Yeah.
But something comes through that, doing that.
The action opens up more doors, but it takes action to do it.
Yeah, and that commitment and that giving yourself that time, even if it's only 10 minutes. And like some of the homes that we lived in, I didn't even have a studio. So my husband always talks about this. I would use the kitchen counter because I was always cooking food for the family and for the babies. And that's where I spent the most time. So I would prop up a painting on the kitchen counter, and then I could put my paints like behind the painting, and then I could slide them out. So sometimes I would be cooking. I'd be like, that painting needs a little more red. Oh, I think I could do a red brushstroke real fast. The babies are napping, and I'd go and get red and then pop it back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Making it work.
Yeah.
Well,
getting it done.
so you have this inner drive and this knowledge about yourself that you're a creative, even
Yeah.
when you're working at the bank.
Yeah.
So, but you still have to make a living.
Yeah.
So then what happens? So how did you have this urge to be an artist, but then you're like, I got to be realistic.
Yeah.
And then now what happened to transition to this type of life now?
Unfortunately, maybe fortunate for me, I had kind of like a life-altering experience for myself. I probably wasn't dying. I felt like I was dying.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very painful too to be knowing that I had this calling and I wasn't honoring it. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. It felt very hard for me. So I lived with that for a while. And unfortunately, one day I was in college at an art class and I had these like chest pains and I thought it was like indigestion, and I'd complained about it for a few nights and I started getting really short of breath. And so I went to the school nurse on campus and she said, you need to go to the ER immediately. Do you have a family member that can meet you? She said, when I listen to your lungs, I can hear the air go in, but I can't hear anything come out. And so there's something going on.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think we we didn't have cell phones then. So I called my husband and I'm like, listen, I'm going to ER. And I literally said this. I don't think it's a big deal. I just think it's like really bad indigestion. Like literally I said that.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so are you fine going? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And I wish I knew my exact age. I think I was 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I get to the ER and they check, you know how they check your oxygen? It was like, Paya, boy, I was down in a room like that.
Oh, no.
And
Wow.
they came and they spoke with me and they said, we think you might have a blood clot in your lung. Your O2's really low and you might want to call a family member.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to run some tests. So I call my husband back again. I'm like, from the hospital, I'm like, you're never going to believe this. They think like I have a blood clot in my lung maybe or something.
Oh, my God.
And my husband has his own version of this story. He was
We'll
like,
have to have him on the
bet he
podcast
does.
to have him tell us.
he was like, okay. So he said that he hung up the phone and he told his boss. He was like, oh yeah, she's at the hospital. They think she might have a blood clot in her lung. And we were so young, and that he said that his husband goes, hey, Erwin, where are you at with your work? I think you should just go ahead and you can just get up and why don't you go ahead and just go meet her and I'll take over where you're at. And he said he was like, oh, okay.
20, I mean, at 20, you're invincible.
You're
you don't
so
think
invincible.
Yeah,
you
so
don't
true.
think something could be so
Right.
life-threatening.
Right.
So the next thing I know, it's like hustle and bustle and they come through the door and no one's there yet. And this doctor and this nurse, I mean, you have to imagine it's all kind of a blur, but they told me I had a spontaneous pneumothorax and my lung had collapsed.
Oh, Lord.
And they needed to do emergency chest tube and that my husband was on his way. So la-ti-da went that thing.
That's a lot
and
of
I
fun.
was like, what
Yeah.
do you mean, And they said that my lung had collapsed.
Yeah.
And I was like, over some indigestion? This just got crazy.
That escalated quickly.
I know.
Are you sure it wasn't the pizza?
Yeah.
Right.
So the long story short is I spent a week in the hospital.
Oh my goodness. Is
Yeah, it
that
was
a
just a week.
typical amount of stay for a
Chest
collapsed
tube
lung?
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to like drain it. They drain and then make sure that the lung, it like can heal
gosh.
itself. I
right.
had a tear in my lung. And so I had people call it a come into Jesus. I didn't have like that, but I did have I guess I had a reality with my own mortality. To me, it felt very real. Like, hey, that was intense. And I feel like I was so grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
And so that put into perspective for me that my time was the most valuable thing I've ever had or experienced. So what happened with that is everything else just came down. What was important? It just came down. And then also the fear of life, like, the fear of am I important? Am I enough?
Mm-hmm.
Am I making enough? Is our house pretty enough? That all went out the door
Way
because
low on the priority list, I'm
I
sure.
feared my life and I was still there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like, what's that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so for me, I spent a lot of time in that hospital bed and I really got to, I learned about what was important to me and what I was put on the earth to do.
Yeah.
And I knew. And so I had a talk with my husband and I said, hey, I think this is what I want to do. And are you here for it? Are you okay with it? Because it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. We're a dual income family
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what this looks like. And he was like, let's do it. So that was it. That was it for me. I never turned back. I jumped off the cliff, but I was
Wow.
committed.
But like before that, so you're 20, you're still young, but like all of that time, you're creative, but you're trying to make it in the world and figure out all the life stuff and in modern day reality. But was there like this like overwhelming, like constant feeling of I'm in the wrong direction, or were you just kind of going and then boom, you get hit with this medical problem and that's the moment of clarity? Or was it like mounting up to this point, or how were you feeling going into that?
I was very frustrated
Frustrated.
before that time, and I cried a lot because I felt like I was supposed to be making art, but I didn't have the time to make the art. And it was like, how am I an artist if I don't even make art?
Yeah.
And so I was really wrestling with it even up to that.
Yeah.
Just feeling like I can't do this. Like I used to draw on the deposit slips at the bank when there were no customers. I would flip them over and draw because I was like, I have to work on my art. And this is the only time I have to work on my art. In between customers. So I was really frustrated and I was really sad and I was really confused because I knew I was an artist, but I couldn't make art.
Yeah.
And that was very frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Like figuring that out. Like, how do I make art? Like I need to be making art between 8 in the morning and 5 when I'm at my brightest. And it was really hard. It was really, I wrestled with it a lot. And my husband watched me wrestle with it.
Yeah.
And so when I jumped off that cliff and we made that commitment, like the sky didn't open up for me. And like I was successful. Part of that commitment meant I was willing to take risk and I was willing to sacrifice. So that was like not a lot of time with friends, not a lot of like dinners out, vacation, spending. I think I went 7 years without a car.
Oh, wow.
But again, here's the thing, looking back, is there were times when I was coming up that I thought I wasn't doing it right because I wasn't there yet. But that was all part of the journey.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
financial success or reward really doesn't credit myself as an artist and my creativity and what I'm meant to make. Now, I needed that outside validation, but it doesn't make me more or less of an artist.
Yeah. It still doesn't take away the drive or gives you the drive.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And so I would look and say, oh, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm clearly suck. I haven't made XYZ dollars yet, or I can't figure this out. But still, I was still very much an artist. I was still very much creating great work.
Yeah.
And so I think that looking back, I hate that I caused myself that. And I see a lot of young creatives because of social media now. If it's not perfect the first time they make it, or they don't get the award, or they're not making X, Y, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, it's a journey. It's a process. It's an evolution. It's not either,
Yes.
Yeah, I always find the creative process for me, and certainly in film, because it's more of a group thing. It's like I hate to be so frank, but it's like you throw something up, you mash it around like a dog, you swallow it again, you throw it back up.
Is that the process too?
It is. It's what it feels like. It's like rough. And what comes up is awful. It's just terrible. Yeah. And everybody's like, this is worthless.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, great. How can we make it better? And because in a group thing, whereas I guess if you do one painting and maybe you share it with people.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's different because it's within the group, it's still within the container of creativity.
Yeah.
It's like that's not the final product. So that's why I see like the at least the progression in film is you get to make something awful and then you get to make it a little bit better before you share it because the group container is there.
It's like process of elimination.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Take that out. That's horrible.
Exactly.
We got to do that again.
Yeah,
That was.
but at least you try it and you know, and you keep learning, and you keep getting better. Like that is the process.
Well, and so I feel like a lot of people nowadays or young creatives want perfection out the gate.
Yeah,
the first shot, it's like it just doesn't work that way.
And I don't think anything works like that. I mean, life, business, anything you're creating, it comes up rough. It's a rough draft. It comes up rough, and let it come up rough. But you want it to still allow it the space to come up, and then have the have the wisdom to know that can still continue to become something more.
When I think about that's what you're describing in your film process, I think about how he took his whole film all night and re-edited everything himself as a full-time physician.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Everything. Doing it all manually himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came out with that product and showed his award-winning editors and all of us, they were like, don't edit anymore.
Right.
But that entire process gave you a little nugget. There was like a small clip that you're like, whoa, there's a solution to this whole project. There was that solution.
Right.
And it made me wonder, well, maybe from the outside looking in, it seemed like a waste of time, but for that little magical moment, that magical solution, you had to go through that entire process to create it. And so I don't know if I would describe it as puking up.
Okay, a little graphic. I get that. I am a gastroenterologist.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't bother me that much.
I think that's the part where he re-ate it, right? Remember, there's the part where you eat it again.
That's right.
We're gonna work on that analogy.
Yeah,
we're gonna
I like
workshop
that analogy.
Yeah,
it works for me.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I mean, similar but different. But that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I like sports. I do. I like sports. And so I use sports analogies. And so I tell artists, young artists, I work with a lot of young artists sometimes will come and we'll chat. And I'm just now learning this in my 40s or in my late 30s that there's game time and there's practice. So for me, I make paintings, right? Not every painting is a game time. Not everybody needs to see that painting. I have practice. And those paintings are just as important because you find those nuggets as the game time. But not everybody needs to see it. But I still need to be practicing. I still need to be making that art. And like one of every 5 or 10 paintings, I might have a game time piece. But what you don't see is all the little doodles I made at the bank and threw in the trash that got me to where I could make that, like just making that craft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to go find those bank slips.
I know.
In auction
priceless.
Now. Yeah.
They're priceless. Where are they?
But I think like a lot of painters will put a lot of pressure on ourselves that every painting has to be a masterpiece.
Yes.
And it's like, no, some of it is just for the sake of making art and working that. You know, not everything is this masterpiece.
Yeah. But I think in the creativity process that part of making art, it's, like you said, it's not really about, if you get a financial reward from it, it's about the process of making the art. And just like in editing a film, for me, it's the process of doing it is far more critical. I'm getting to express myself in that moment. And just like you're at the bank or all these paintings that you've not shared with anybody, it's still the artist expressing, and that's that deeper spiritual process of allowing a greater power to come through. That's really, to me, that's really what's happening is there's this greater expression coming through. And that's why it keeps wanting to come through. And it's like, just allow it to come through. And if it wants to, whatever format it takes, it wants to take it.
Well, you nailed it because It's creativity.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to be creative, using your creativity. I mean, it's a gift that we all have, and
Yeah.
it's like so important.
Yeah, it's so important.
That we're using that,
Yeah,
you know?
it's critical.
I want to get to a couple things that you said that I don't want to breeze over, because I think when you talked about commitment and you talked about validation. And the one thing about commitment, I think for a lot of us is we don't, especially when we're young, we don't know what commitment is, in the sense that we don't realize that we're committing to this no matter what. And you've said this to me before. You said, I committed to it. So I told my husband that I'm going to commit to it, whether I'm poor, whether I'm unsuccessful, whether I'm this, whether I'm that. And I think, can you talk about what that commitment was like to you when you passed that threshold and became, in your mind, an artist?
I mean, I think it goes back to committing to allowing myself to spend my life making art, and committing to acknowledging that that's a priority for me in my life. And even if people don't understand it, and you have to keep in mind, I graduated with 30 people. I was in West Texas when I was making this commitment to be an artist. So it wasn't like I was in the Soho district or in LA or, you know, we needed to be more, you needed to make a living and have some sense. And to say you were going to be an artist is not really a bright thing to do in a West Texas town, you know, because it's like, well, what
town was that?
Abilene, which has grown tremendously.
Yeah.
And they did support me, but again, to make a living in even in Holly, which is where I graduated with 30, I did get a lot of support from my friends and family. But it was not, you can't just go apply for a job, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to do this? I don't know, but I'm committed. I'm committed.
Yeah.
I'm committed to figuring it out. I'm committed to taking the time that it takes to grow, and even knowing, like, I think that's why I had a lot of frustration, because I knew that I needed to grow before I could even get to a point where I could attempt to make a living. I knew I needed to grow as an artist. And what does that look like? It looks like making art. So in order to make that art, I had to make some sacrifices in my life, so that, because the one thing I learned from the hospital was the most valuable thing that I had was time. And at the same time, it could be taken away from me. So I really valued what I did with my time became like the most important thing to me. That was making art, being outside, and being with my family. Like that, just everything got really clear. And so that commitment looked like a lot of sacrifice, and it looked like prioritizing making art. And, you know, my friends sometimes would be out on the weekends, and I'd go hang out, you know, late at night if I could, but I was broke as heck, and, you know, like all the things, like it was real
Broke
life.
and
you know?
fabulous.
But I knew, but there was also something freeing for me internally when I decided to do what I knew I was here to do. And I knew that I was going to be taken care of by whatever or whoever, for me that's God, was calling me to do this. I knew somehow, some way, it's all going to be okay, because I this is what I'm supposed to do, you know? And I think having that kind of experience I had me realize how much I'm not in control anyways. So I really was like, it's all an illusion at the end of the day. So why don't I lean into what I'm being called to do? Because anything can happen. It just happened. I mean, I had indigestion. A week later, here I am.
Man, you know, and Stephen talks about the creative process as a very spiritual process for him, and that he has to continue to create because it's almost like continually keeping that channel open, that's communication channel, that spiritual channel. Can you talk about your creative process and your spiritual process?
Yeah, the creative process for me in the last 10 years have become far more spiritual than it used to be. It used to be more aesthetic. Other than I knew it's what I was being called to do. But now, yeah, for sure. For sure, now it's the way I kind of work through anything that's going on in my life or anything I need to purge or get out. Somehow using that energy to create really centers me. And so it in an interesting way, the work that I'm creating now, it's almost like I let the viewers know that it is a very spiritual process for me. And the sense that a lot of times I'll put some like intentions or quotes in some of the pieces that I'm working on. And I'm kind of meditating on that while I'm making it. So it might say something like, I trust I'm on the right path. And as I'm making that painting, it's just like I'm getting that reminder spiritually that I trust I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path, you know, or I open up my heart and allow wonderful things to happen. Sometimes I'll embed like that kind of mantra in the back of a painting. And as I'm working on that painting, I feel it. I believe it. I know it. It's real, you know? And so it's been kind of cool. Not kind of. What's been really cool lately is clients will feel that spiritual energy when they view the piece. And so
now, is that when you say it's embedded, is that underneath everything else where nobody can see it? Or is that over on the top where you can read it?
I put it, good question. I collage it into the background and then I paint over it. And then it's faintly in the background. And then I'll usually use whatever I'm kind of meditating on spiritually to bring the whole piece to fruition. And then I'll usually put that kind of in the title.
Okay.
But it'll be something that I've meditated on or something I've gone through or something like that. But what's been really cool and a good reminder again that I'm not in control. There's something bigger out there. And I'm really starting to feel like a vessel lately more than just like the creative artist is they have their own spiritual experience with that work. And I talked to you a little bit about this, but it's outside of me. Like, you know, it's the way they're receiving that in their life and where they're at spiritually and however it's speaking to them. So it is a very spiritual, I mean, it's 100% a spiritual creative process for me. And even knowing like something greater than me called me to paint that blue, as weird as it sounds. And then I'll go, oh my gosh, it was for Nina. She walked in and I had no idea. I'm glad I leaned into that. Like that's been super cool to see how it all plays, you know?
Okay, but what is that? Is that, is it a voice? Is it a feeling? Is it like a tingling? Like, what is it for you that makes you feel like that's a clear maybe not a clear communication, but it's a communication to you? Like, how does it come to you?
Every morning I get up at 5 and it's just a quiet, I hate to say voice, but it's just a quiet voice. And I think, maybe in my 20s, I would call it like my own, like, you know, my own voice or my own, but now I know, it's a spiritual, it could be, I call it like the God image inside of me or my spirit connecting to the creator. But whenever I feel or I see or I have ideas for a painting, it's usually early in the morning, it's quiet, and I lean into that. I know this, I'm supposed to make this. This is what I'm going to make, you know?
So it's like a vision and voice that's coming through.
Yeah, and then as I make the painting, like I'll have a concept of like what I want to make. Like I'm doing a show in Santa Fe and it's called Love and Light, and it's going to be butterflies and chandeliers. And I know the concept. Now each piece will kind of take its own it'll kind of take its own form and as I'm working it, but I know I don't know. I know that for me, it's a spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
And I listen to it.
And you listen to it.
And what's really hard is when someone comes and wants you to do something else and you're
I
like,
bet.
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
I got to check with my boss here. That don't go over that well.
I love it.
I'm going to call you tomorrow. I got to have a meeting.
I love it.
We got to have a
Check with my
meeting.
boss.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's great. I mean, you have to,
Mhm.
right? You
Totally.
have to. Yeah.
Totally.
Have to.
Yeah,
I think using the word vessel is
Yes.
key. Like that's it. It's being a vessel for that word. But I often try to, because I struggled with this for so long and probably still do, I think. How do you know that you're listening to the voice, to that voice, to the voice, and not
Versus
not
an
the voice of
insecurity
your own?
versus your own conditioning versus societal conditioning.
Yeah.
How do you delineate?
Because I always get so curious about that, because I'm like,
Same.
I know if I can just listen to that voice, I'd be all right. I'd be heading in the direction. But man, I feel like I'm in so many directions right now. I have no idea where I'm even going. But there's still a flow of something.
We've talked to people who have described it as a calm.
Yeah.
Very
Right.
A calm.
Right.
But maybe you could expand on that.
Well, I could this is okay. You might have to edit this out 'cause we might totally geek out on therapy
Yes.
right now because I'm
That's
in
all
a
right.
lot
Let's
of
go.
therapy.
Let's
I'm
go.
in a lot of therapy. In fact,
Me
my
too.
therapist will be listening to this. Hi, Colleen. I love you.
Yeah, we're gonna forward this to you, Colleen.
She really will.
Thank
She
you,
really will
Colleen.
be listening to this.
Yeah.
But I do some deep therapy work called IFS, Internal Family Systems. So basically that therapy work helps you, and I don't always get it right. I might hear the wrong cue and but
Yeah.
it helps you calm. So for me, I have a lot of different parts of me and it works with parts. So I have a people-pleasing part. I don't really like confrontation, And so this work helps me kind of meditate and get centered and let everything calm down and hear my true self. So am I responding from people-pleasing? Like they really want me to do this, I should do it. Or am I responding from my true self? And a lot of times this is so weird. Y'all are going to have to probably edit this out. It takes me having compassion for my people-pleasing part and going hey, I know you want to people-please right now, but if you're really being honest, you're spread too thin.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right.
And just calm down. But I have all that going on. And that's why for me in the morning when I get up real quietly, I have to because I have all this thing and that discerning what am I being called to do,
Yeah.
And I think now I will wait. If I don't have a clear answer or a clear vision, I will wait. Whereas before I would just be oh my God, I got to do this. I don't know, I think. And now I'm I'm going to get back to you in a day or two.
Yeah.
And it may come in a dream. It usually comes super early in the morning for me, super early. And I'll take a pen and I could I've planned a whole show, 30 pieces just sitting there in the morning because they all just came to me
Yeah.
Now I'd have to go and create each one. And then sometimes I can sit there and I've got nothing. It's crickets. And so I just wait. I just wait it out. But I know it's going to come.
And while you're waiting, you're working on your craft.
Oh, yeah. You just keep making art. Just keep making art.
Gotcha. Yeah.
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 And sometimes it'll be born from some crappy painting that you're oh, what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I should do this one, but like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. There's also this, I'm also, it's so funny that you're you might want to edit this out. And I was expecting something I wake up at 5 and
That's the only
build
part
a
we actually need to
fire
keep.
and
It's the
run
critical
naked in the
piece.
fire, I was expecting something wild, but it was just stuff that's our jam,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Quiet, everything else. We talked to somebody about the way our body, how to calm our body, this exact process, the somatic therapy. And so I think this is right on brand with us.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, having compassion for the
Oh,
people
yes.
pleaser
Having compassion.
is critical for, I think, most folks. And being able to even identify that we have people pleasing, because I have that too. Tremendous amount of my life was about people pleasing. And having compassion for that part of me. I mean, usually for me, it went back to the little boy that was, you go into all the wounding stuff, but putting that, that little boy on your shoulder and saying it's okay. And Like, we don't have to please everybody to stay safe. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
protected by me and we're here together. That kind of stuff. It's critical to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. And
That's the stuff I do every morning. I let all the kids come out.
yeah.
Okay, darling.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I know,
No,
right?
I love you, but you're gonna have to play with something because I need my true self right now.
Yeah. But it reminds me of those I used to read these Thich Nhat Hanh books, and they were all about communicating with these emotions of ours
Mm-hmm.
and loving them.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's our anger or our frustration, whatever that emotion is that seems to be an obstacle for true loving in the moment, to really send love to that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes it okay. Like it's okay for it to be there. It's okay for it to come up. It'll pass. But
I think that was the hardest part for me doing this work is we would, discover a new part, whatever it was, people pleasing, I don't know. That's one that comes to my mind. And instead of knowing that it's a part of me that it served a good role,
yeah,
it was really trying to help me. When we get to the end of it, I would be like, okay, now go away. Like I would try to fix it. Well, now I wonder, like, can she move out? Like I'm done with her. And then
Right.
Colleen, she's like, no, you have to be
Colleen.
kind. And I'm like, but I don't like her. Like, why would anyone like her? She's
Right.
like, oh God, you're gonna be here for
Oh,
a
yeah, you
long
could be for a
time.
long
I
time.
love that, but I don't like her.
I don't. Who likes her? She pisses me off. I mean, look what she did to 2 years of my life. Like,
Yeah.
why would anyone like her?
Right,
But
right.
then now I'm going, oh, okay, I gotta love on her, and she'll calm down.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
forgiveness part.
I'm
I
getting
love
there.
that. I love
Me
that.
too. I'm getting there.
Love on her. And you're doing that show in Santa Fe called Love and Light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's and I'm assuming the light is the chandeliers
Yes.
and the love are the butterflies. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about the butterflies and your
How'd you
inspiration
catch
for
on
them?
to that? Dang, girl. This is my detective over here, by
She's
the way.
good.
When we're watching movies, I'm like, detective, what's going on? Anyway.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, I'll tell you two things. What the butterflies started out being inspired by. And then kind of what I realized, I just did an event in Laguna Beach, and as I was talking, it just kind of came out.
Mm.
Again, this like evolving and realizing like this is why I'm doing this. But my father passed away. And when he passed away, St. David's Hospital, there was a blue butterfly that just stopped me in my tracks in the parking lot. And I've never been like, I deal with a lot of clients who want me to put like cardinals and stuff in their paintings for their loved ones. And I've kind of been like, good for you, but not my thing. Like I've never had that kind of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, it was really engaging. The only way I could explain it to my husband was when our children were born, there is this like moment in the room when that baby starts breathing that is just like you're raw. Everybody's raw. And you know that you've experienced a miracle.
Yeah.
Like a sheer miracle. This is like the heightened of spirituality that I've ever felt, It was like that with this butterfly. And I thought maybe I'm crazy. I haven't slept in 3 days, my dad just passed away. There's that shock. But anyways, from then on, these butterflies just started following me. And they would just show up in all these different places. Like the next day at the funeral home, I had to make his arrangements and I didn't know anything or what. And as the woman greeted me, there was a blue butterfly just right behind her in her, like as you walk into the office, just right there. And so I kept it to myself because I thought I was crazy. And everywhere I went. And at that time, I didn't think it was my father. I thought it was God. I felt like God was saying, this is terrible and this is horrible, but I'm here. And just that room, like, I'm here, you're going to be okay, I'm here. And so I thought I'd paint one and like get it out of my system. And then I just started painting more butterflies. And even I was like, what am I doing? Why am I, what is this? And I would even say like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, why are you wanting me to make all these butterflies? And so I started researching butterflies. A few things happened whenever I was trying to figure out the why. People would come to me whenever they would see a butterfly. So I had some butterflies in the window at the studio. And I had a group of 3 girls come in. They came running in, and they were gushing over these butterflies. And they told me that their mom passed away, and they identify with her through a butterfly. And so part of my fear, again, going back to that fear of being authentic to myself, my fear was, how do I tell people why I'm painting butterflies? I can't tell them I'm painting butterflies because my dad died. That takes the joy out of it. What am I going to burden them with when I say that? I've always been this joyful artist. Like, and then at that time, I couldn't even say it. Like, I couldn't even say he had passed away. I just wasn't accepting it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I didn't want to paint these butterflies, but I had to paint these butterflies. And so these girls came in and they showed me, they told me their story. And then I had another gentleman, like a couple of days later, who's a good friend of mine, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hello, Joe. And his daughter, they came in because his wife passed away. And he he was in this band, and anyway, he identified with butterflies, great people. And then I had another woman who came in, and her son had passed away. And so it was like this blessing that I felt like I was using my pain for a purpose.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't know why or how to, and then it was like a blessing for me to hear them, and I didn't feel alone. And to know that we all shared this incredible pain, but we all felt this like comfort and connection. And then that's where I kind of transitioned into feeling like a vessel and not being so much obsessed with like an ego artist of like, I've done all these things and I've won all these awards and I'm in LA and New York. It was more like, whoa, I just bonded with someone on a whole nother level through a painting. And like God brought them to me and they're a blessing. Like it just got like, whoa, this is really cool. And I want more of this, you know? This is where it's at. This is what it's about. And so I just kept painting them. And what I realized in Laguna is I got asked the same question, why the butterflies? And I realized the problem with grief is you love someone, you love them so much, and you still have that love to give them, and they're not here. And you don't know what to do with it. And it hurts. It's like, I love you so much, and I can't see you, and I can't hug you. So I think what has happened for me is that overwhelming love, I've just like drilled it into my painting. And I think it's caused me to be like really laser focused and like really working at another level that I wasn't working at before, because it's just that love I have for him, and I don't know what to do with it, but I can make art. And so it just like goes there again, you know? It just, I don't know why, and so that's what I've just been doing. I said, the love I want to give my father, I just pour out into that painting because I don't have anywhere else to put it, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's a different love than you have for your kids and your husband. It's a different love.
Yeah. So what do you tell the people?
I tell them the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell them the truth.
That's wonderful. What's
been so amazing is to see how authenticity works. So, in a living room full of people and a gallery full of people, when I tell my truth, there's a connection. And when I'm honest, there's a connection. And instead of scaring people away, they run towards it.
Yeah.
And they want a piece of it. And that I love. But I'm always like so scared to say it.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I'm about to say it,
yeah,
I don't know what to say. And like the last time we did it in Laguna, we were in an intimate living room. We were having a wonderful time. And literally I was like, I'm about to kill the whole party. I'm about to sink the ship. It's all sunny. I'm about to tell them this terrible thing, you know? And then it was like completely opposite, because you know what? We're all human and we all have these feelings and, you know, or different, but you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the butterflies.
Man, thank you so much for sharing that. I think go
ahead.
No, you ask yours.
I was just curious, like I have had experiences with butterflies and I've recognized them as spiritual experiences. Like there's too many butterflies flying around here. Like I turn the corner, there's like 3 or 4. I turn another corner, there's like 4 or 5.
When we
Like-
got brunch together, we were literally talking about the butterflies and the film and the creation of this expression of art. And one flew right by us.
Yeah.
Me, you, and
Yeah.
Erwin.
Never been
Remember
into
that?
that.
It's just
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
like when we, the 4 of us.
I remember that.
But it is, yeah.
But the butterfly is an interesting one, but I've never sat down to explore what is it. I'm sure somebody listening to this is like, duh, dude, like I know the answer. But I don't know what the answer is to that.
A lot of people identify with like the metamorphosis of it, the transformation, that their journey that they go through to get to be a butterfly. There's a lot. I hear a lot of identity in that. And we recently went to the Butterfly Wonderland in Scottsdale, which was amazing, and we learned all kinds of stuff.
Well, how did you interpret it then? I mean, what did it come up for you?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know. Erwin thinks it's a gift from my father.
Yeah.
Erwin thinks that me painting these butterflies was what he gave me because of the amount of love I'm receiving. It was he just thinks that he gave that to me. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah. But it's like you can
I don't
feel
know.
it.
I'm still painting it because I don't know. I mean, clearly I try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Some things you can't.
No.
I mean, I've
So
really
true.
tried to figure
I
this
know.
out. I have researched.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been like, okay, is it you? Is it me? Who's the butterfly? What is the deal? Or,
Yeah.
or, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the I mean, I don't want to take it away from you.
Yeah.
Everybody's should have their own interpretation. That's the art of it. But the metamorphosis, or even like your illness with the pneumothorax, these or the death of a family member or a loved one or a parent, these are rites of passage, and they do shape us, and they it is the fire that shapes us as we go through those and come out the other side. And if you use them as an opportunity, it builds greater strength in ourselves coming through those. So I mean, I can see that in you come out the other side and you have greater authenticity, you have greater vulnerability, you're willing to accept this is why I'm painting this, sharing that with people, that invites people in that need healing, and they come to that. So it's interesting where that can take you if you follow it.
Yeah, and then it blesses me. Like they bless me
Mm-hmm.
because they share their story with me, and I'm like, oh, I get to hear that. When I first started doing the butterflies, I painted in round top, and I wasn't at a point where I could talk about it. And I painted live, and I was so overwhelmed with the people that came up to me and just started telling me all about their butterfly experience and their story, and they would just talk my ear off. And I mean, tears were just running down my face because I was still very grieving.
Yeah.
And I just got to hear all these amazing stories, and I was like, all I did was paint this butterfly. Like, that's all I did was just paint it. I didn't talk about it, and I heard so many stories that were just like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, it's been cool.
So cool. So cool. I want to make sure that we get this last question in before the end.
Okay.
We're workshopping it still, but I really like it. So when in film, it's so, and you know this from writing your scripts, but there's like, what's your driving question? What's the character's driving question? So with our guests, we want to ask you at this point right now, what is your driving question?
Like expand on that, like why I do what I do.
Like, what are you curious?
What are you curious
what are you
about?
most
What are
curious
you-
about right now in your life?
What are you trying to explore? What is driving you right now, every day? What are you curious about?
How to slow down.
Oh, okay. How to slow down.
I have 2 kids, and life is busy, and I want to live at a slower pace, and I don't know how. Like, I want to savor it. And I think I run to Santa Fe a lot because I have it's a slower pace. But I want to live in a way that's slower and that just savors
Yeah.
like all of it,
I can relate to that.
And I don't know how. I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to make it slow down. Even last night I was talking to my husband. Sometimes we really geek out with like philosophical dumb questions.
That's the way to
like,
do it.
what are we doing? But we were talking about time. And I'm like, if you think about it, it can be good, but it can be bad. Because if you're Sunday and you're enjoying your Sunday evening at 6:00, on Monday at 8:00, you got to do this, and you already start pulling out of Sunday. But if you just didn't have measurements of time and you could just be fully present, how freeing in a way that would be. I think especially as moms, we know in 20 minutes they got to take a bath, and we're already like but it's just like, oh, how do you make it stop? Like literally that's what I was telling last night. How do we make it stop? Like we were having a good dinner. We know that the kids need to go to bed, and it just starts that stupid race,
that machine. That I love when you said, how do we get to savor it? Our time.
Yeah, I just want it to slow down.
Yeah. Savoring our time is like savoring our life.
It is.
And yes, we'll have to just think on that question. Hopefully we come to
Well, you
an
text me the answer. If you figure
I
out,
was thinking you were gonna.
What's the perfect schedule? Like, is it like a Thursday through Sunday thing? Like, where does it go wrong?
That's so awesome.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes. Well, Ash, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yeah,
this has been such a pleasure.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the L36 Podcast, where the global exploration of cultural insights and stories of people making a difference big and small becomes the shift in perspective that helps us grow. Today's powerful conversation with Ash Almonte illuminated creativity as more than artistic expression. It's a profound spiritual journey and a courageous commitment to authenticity. Ash's story reminds us that our creative impulses aren't merely talents to be displayed, but sacred channels through which deeper connections and transformations occur, guiding us through life's joys and inevitable griefs. Remember, whether life feels too fast or you're seeking clarity, dedicating even brief moments to your creativity can profoundly anchor you to your true self and purpose. If this conversation touched something deep within you, we'd be grateful if you'd subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit. These dialogues are just the start. To dive deeper into today's insights or explore the rich landscape of wisdom, community, and transformative events we offer, visit us at L36.io. Join our global community of adventurers, storytellers, and change makers dedicated to personal and cultural growth. Stay connected by following us on social media. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you soon on the L36 Podcast.